focus on these bribery allegations and the dishonorable conduct and fashion in which we are seeing these MPs conduct themselves, Yusuf?
Thank you very much for that comprehensive update with regards to the bribery allegations in Parliament. So the big story tonight is, are the MPs guns for hire, or are we seeing some renewed effort from the government and in fighting graft? And the reason as to why we're saying this is because of the two sound bites that we're going to play for you shortly, one by the Deputy President William Ruto and the other by President Uhuru Kenyatta. But first, let me introduce our guest in studio tonight. We have Steve Ogutu is a governance expert, Asman Omondi, who is a youth leader, and Owino Kotieno is going to join us shortly from our CBD studios. But first, good evening, gentlemen. That is Steve and Asman, and welcome to the program.
Good evening to you.
So, Steve, let me begin with you. Latest report from Parliament indicate that the Speaker of the National Assembly, that is Justin Muturi, has already invited EACC to probe this bribery allegation even further. Ironically, it's the same Parliament that sometimes to actually disband the anti-graft body. So let me begin with this. Do you expect any outcome to come out of this probe that is going to be conducted by EACC?
Wow, thanks for having me, Ibrahim. I think going by what you've been seeing in the past, you know, in cases where the Parliament, the different committees in Parliament have been tasked to conduct, you know, investigations on certain issues. What we've been seeing in the past is most of these things are just are not the reports. Whenever they bring these reports in Parliament, then they have a way of getting away with everything. And so for me, I think, and I can say this with a lot of certainty, that we should not expect anything new. I mean, it's just the same thing year in, year out. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to say this, that I think the kind of leaders we have, from what we've been seeing and what we've seen even in this report that is currently being handled in Parliament, I think that the leaders we have are people who do not really, they fall short of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have integrity. We've elected them to actually represent the interest of the Kenyan people in Parliament. But what we are seeing is actually greed. I mean, they're so greedy. They think about their stomach, so to speak. They think about their own welfare. Yet they're supposed to protect and advance the interest of the common Mwananchi down there. You know, Wanjiku, Otieno, and those poor people in the grounds. So it's a very sad affair, I'm just hoping that Kenyans are learning and watching, and come 2022, then they'll make very informed decisions based on this evidence that we are seeing as a country.
Now, let me bring Asman into this conversation. Asman, we're going to play a very interesting soundbite by the President when he spoke in Kisii during the International Youth Day, where the need for youth to be in the front line in the war against graft. You're going to react to that once we play that soundbite. But first of all, Steve has already said that he doesn't believe that there'll be much outcome from this EACC probe into Parliament. What's your reaction to that first?
I think what has been done before is what is going to be done again. I tend to have the same opinion as he has, that the government has continuously tried to pin down these people who have been involved in corruption, but to what end? They've always been getting out. So I expect the same to come out of it. However, it should not be gainsaid that the government has tried as much as possible this far to curtail the situation as it is ongoing right now. So I want to applaud the efforts that are being done by the President. The only problem is that the President is in this situation all alone. The government agencies that are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that this corruption does not continue are sleeping on their job. The only office that has been seen to take a lot of interest in this is the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and we want to say that at least the effort that has been done by the President and the DPP is going to go a long way in curtailing the situation.
Yes, we're going to talk into detail about, the role of this independent institution when it comes to the one graft. But let me bring in Steve once again. Steve, if you look at the genesis of this, sugar report, a report that was crafted, of course, by the Joint Parliamentary Group. First, it was shut down during the plenary stages when it was tabled in Parliament. Then it was shut down again after it emerged that, there are some details, pieces missing in that report. And again, it was shut down, the latest one, amid, bribery claims. So at this stage, it seems Kenyans will never know who imported this sugar, the contaminated ones, and actually they will never know who are these key people in government who are supposed to be culpable, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad affair, like I said, and I think it's known out there that we have bigwigs who are involved in this, the whole sugar scandal, and it's a lot of confidence based on what we've been seeing in the recent past. In matters tackling such huge criminal cases. We've seen the way the DCI is committed to doing his job, and the DPP, and the goodwill from the presidency. So I'm hoping that they may try to just get away with it, but I have a very strong confidence that if the DPP and the DCI and all the agencies charged with the responsibility of tackling matters corruption are able to do a very thorough investigation into this matter, they should go for those people who were called the big fish, and just like they've done in the past. Yesterday we had. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? We had people like Suzuri being arrested, and there is a very good indication that nobody is above the law. And if you commit anything that is criminal, as a person who's holding any public office, then you're not above the law. I mean, you should be investigated, and if found guilty, then you go where you belong, to the jail. And I think that is something that needs to really be given a lot of support, not just from, like I said, the fight against graft is not just a president fight. It's a fight that requires all of us Kenyans, from all walks of life, to come together and support this process. Yeah.
Once again, we're going to talk about the role of youth when it comes to fighting graft because of that soundbite that we've promised our viewers earlier. We're going to play that shortly. That, Asman, let me bring you back. You've heard, of course, Steve's point of view there. Parliament is supposed to be like some sort of a watchdog. So now that we're getting these, bribery allegations, I understand it's yet to be substantiated, but where will this leave the citizen out there, the common, mwananchi out there?
First of all, it is very unfortunate that our members of parliament have reduced themselves to a level of receiving bribes as low as 10,000, 30,000 shillings. It is very unfortunate, and it is not even a matter of how much they are being given as a bribe. It is a matter of what they go to do in parliament. Were they elected to go and be involved in other activities that do not contribute to the well-being of the common wananchi? And as a matter of fact, when these people are elected into office, the first course of business is to make sure that they, at least in the first 90 days, as they usually promise, is to deliver on at least one or two of the things that they promise to deliver to people. And it is very unfortunate that the first thing when they get into office, they forget all that. They start worrying about the salaries they are going to be paid, how much allowances they are going to receive, how much cuts they are going to get. And corruption does not even begin from the people that are elected into office. It begins from the grassroots level. And what happens, as we've seen right now taking place, is that once the elections are over, the common mwananchi tend to relax and wait for the next election. They do not understand that once the elections are done, the first cause, the action starts immediately after the election. And it is quite clear that people, when they are on the campaign trail, they start bribing people from down there, and they are making politics to be an investment. So what you find happening is that those people who use a lot of money to get into these offices, it's like an investment. They invest so that they get returns once they are in office. And it is very unfortunate. You find that the citizens themselves, they ask these people to give them money. They ask, what are you going to give us? And when the member of parliament comes to speak to them in a public gathering, they start asking the member of parliament, how are you going to leave us? So it is a matter that comes down from the grassroots before it rises up. And it is a matter that, since it comes from the grassroots level, from the citizens themselves, it has to be curtailed from the citizens upwards.
And speaking about representatives, we have a former representative. There is a former MCA with us in studio. There is Ogutu Kotieno. I believe you can hear me now. He's with us in studio. He's joining us all the way from the CBD studios. Ogutu, actually, I'm going to engage him once he's ready, but let me engage Steve once again. Steve, I'm sure you've seen the development in Parliament when that sugar report was tabled. And from all the speakers there, of course, there are members of Parliament who wanted to shoot this report down. Nobody was talking about the need perhaps to amend the report or even strengthen it in order to make sure that, the key people, especially in government, are going to be found culpable. I mean, nobody was talking about the need to make this report strong. So what do you think, or what are you reading in that, first of all?
These people, they were told, I think they had a meeting prior to going to that particular sitting. And it's like they decided that, we want to focus on pushing a particular agenda. And it's unfortunate, like I said, the agenda that they wanted to push, or they are pushing, is an agenda that is selfish, an agenda that does not in any way seek to support, or benefit that common mwananchi down there. And I feel that, like I said, these are leaders who've fallen short of the chapter 6 of our constitution, and they did not deserve to hold those positions. I think the honorable thing they can do is actually to just resign. I wish we could. I don't know. It's a very sad affair.
Possible. Now, let me talk about the soundbite I promised earlier. The president, while presiding over the International Youth Day in Kisii County yesterday, rallied the youth to be on the forefront in fighting graft. Let's listen into that soundbite first.
Vijana, nyinyi muwe mstari wa mbele. Mukiona hata kama ni baba yako, wewe sitaki yeye, useme sisi hatutaki mambo ya ufisadi katika dunia yetu. Hata kama ni polisi na muone, mushike mpeleke polisi. Hata kama ni MCA, mushike mpeleke kwa polisi. Hata kama ni MP, munaona anatumia pesa ya CDF vibaya na munaona anatumia, shika peleka kwa polisi. Au ni namna gani jameni? The power is in your hands to end this vice in our country, and you must take it up. Musiogope. Siogope mtu kwa sababu ati yako na pesa mingi. Hiyo pesa yake ukimshika vizuri itarudi kwa mwananchi.
Asman, I understand you're a youth leader. First of all, your reaction to that sentiments that were made by the president, and do you really have the power? Are the powers in your hands, as he has mentioned?
I was privileged to be among the people, the youths who attended the event yesterday in Kisii. And what came out strongly from the president is that the youth are sitting back and waiting for action to be taken by the people who are ahead of us. I believe that we, the youth, have the power in our hands to change the trajectory, the political trajectory of this country. And it's only a matter of time before the youth stand up and fight against these crimes. And, for the longest time, the government has sidelined I have a lot of problems with the president by saying that we, the youths, are the ones who are supposed to come out and arrest people. Yes, we have the ability to come out and arrest these people, but there is a mode of operation surrounding the way these people are supposed to be arrested. I cannot, for one reason or the other, due to that a member of parliament or someone else has been accused of corruption, just go out of my way to bring them to book. But we saw a case in Ghana the other day when the citizens decided to storm the parliamentary buildings of their country to fight for a justifiable cause. And the youth have to stand up, and it came out very clearly from the president yesterday that we need to stand up and to fight for our space. And the theme was safe spaces for the youth. And what the youth right now have to decide is to make a decision right now. It is not going, we are not going to be given anything for free. The people who are ahead of us, they had to fight for that space which they occupy. And for us to get into that space, we also have to stand up and fight for it, for whatever, in whatever way is possible that we can fight for the space.
Steve?
I think for me, that was a very profound statement coming from a head of state, you know. It was, for me, I think it was a call to action for young people to end matters, you know, poor governance and corruption in this country. And I think, like you said, you know, we have to demand, as young people of this country, we have to demand for accountability. When we elect leaders to go and serve us, to go and, you know, come up with the initiatives like, you know, improving roads, you know, creating jobs for the youth and things like that. And then we know that actually there are money that are allocated for these, some of these projects, you know, even at the county or at the constituency level or at the ward level. So I think we must, you know, demand for accountability. And we must be involved in matters, you know, public participation, so we can tackle these matters around, you know, poor governance and corruption that has been, you know, bringing this country down. But I'm so happy, like I said, that the president is leading the way in matters, you know, in addressing, in restoring the hope that this country has been yearning for a very long time.
Actually, we have some more strong words from the head of the state. We're going to play that after this short break. Let me give Owino the last word before we take that break. Owino, good evening. Welcome to the program. I know you're a bit late to the party, but let me take you back to Parliament. The latest report from there is that the Speaker has invited the EACC to come and probe, you know, issues to do with, you know, allegations of corruption there in Parliament. And interestingly, it's the same EACC just a few days back or a few weeks ago, the same Parliament wanted to disband. So I'd like to hear your view on this. Do you believe there might be any sort of tangible outcome out of this?
Well, thank you so much, Yusuf. For quite some time, I have toyed with the idea of a National Assembly introducing an independent office known as the Independent Parliamentary Ombudsman's Office. This must be an independent office that is also going to provide oversight against members of parliament. Remember, members of parliament have been given the responsibility and mandate pursuant to this constitution, but there is no one actually oversighting them. It is a high time that we must introduce this office, strengthen its capacity, fund it with adequate resources, give it an independent budget line, so that it is the Ombudsman's office in Parliament now who will be charged with the responsibility of ensuring that we provide oversight to members of Parliament. I am saying so because members of Parliament are easy to manipulate. This is a crop of leaders that can be easily intimidated by crooks, by cartels, and if we do not actually provide mechanisms and institutions that is going to ensure that they are also oversighted, then generations to come will only be reading from newspapers or from books that there was a country called Kenya, because parliamentarians are actually confusing the independence of legislature or supremacy of legislature with impunity. It does not mean when parliament is supreme, then impunity reigns supreme. I must actually inform Kenyans that early 1700s, the call for American independence was no taxation without representation. It is also high time that even Kenyans must come out in large numbers and say no representation without accountability, because almost 10 years, 20 years down the line, these people have been representing us, but we are still poor. Structures of governance are still weak. We have actually Article 10, principles and values of governance. Nobody is actually giving this article. Nobody is breathing life in this article. MPs must be like Caesar's wife. They should be helping the president in the fight against corruption. But it seems as if they are still not prepared. They are still holding fort for cartels. They are holding fort for thieves. These are, I would describe them as social and political perverts. We can no longer call them
so we know.
members. Yes.
We know, and there's a question I'd posed to both Steve and Asman earlier. This is with regards to how, members of parliament had, conducted themselves while shooting down this SEM report.
Yes.
Of course, apart from criticizing this report, nobody talked about the need to amend it or, make the report, perhaps strengthen it in order to have, a strong report with regards to the probe that was made by the committee in question. So it seems at the moment, Kenyans might never know who are these key people in government who have, facilitated the importation of this sugar in question.
Well, Parliament is a house of rules and procedures, and members of Parliament who actually understand the rules and procedures of the House are the only ones who are going to have the benefit of engaging Parliament and ensuring that there is oversight, strong oversight, and there is also accountability. I was a member of County Assembly, and the same standing orders that are used at the National Assembly and at the Senate are the same standing orders that we were also using during my tenure at the Nairobi County Assembly. What could have been done would have been to introduce amendments. Members could have proposed amendments. The office of the clerk could have gone through those amendments, and they could have been part of the business to be transacted that day. But now there is only one thing that I can assume. Either members were already bribed earlier, or they were just deliberate to shoot and to kill down the report, because already they were dancing to the tune of certain mafias. Remember, people have started campaigning for 2022. Nobody actually campaigns with the funds or resources directly from his pockets. I can easily conclude that from these illicit funds that these monies were supposed actually to go for the campaigns of 2022.
Of course, this is a matter, yes, so we know. Of course, this is a matter that is still under investigation, but we'll continue this conversation at a time when the graft war has been costly financially, and even friends have been lost. Of course, this is with regards to that soundbite by President Uhuru Kenyatta over the weekend, saying that he has lost a couple of friends because of the ongoing war on graft. Are we seeing some sort of renewed effort from the government when it comes to fighting corruption? We'll continue.